Hey guys, what's up? I think you are going to really like this episode. I was speaking to Ellyn Shamalov, and she is an amazing quantum healer, an enlightenment mentor. I mean, she is really, she has a warm energy about her. And although, maybe our belief systems are a little different, this was such a valuable conversation about coming to yourself and learning who you are and really just trying to find your way through all of the noise that's out there, right? All of the stuff we have been programmed and conditioned to believe and to do, and the way we think about things. And I really enjoyed this conversation a lot. I love when two people from two different perspectives and angles and faiths or whatever can still come together and have a very fulfilling and enlightening conversation. And I really enjoyed this. So I think you're going to love this conversation. I can't wait for you to dig in. And she is willing to hop on a free call with you and like help you figure that out for yourself. I think it's beautiful. So here we go. Enjoy. What's up, y'all? This is Neena Perez, and this is Straight Talk, No Sugar Added. And I'm so excited you're here. I freaking love podcasting. I didn't think I was going to love it as much as I do. In the last 4 or 5 years, it started off slow, but now I'm over 100,000 downloads because of you guys. And the way you guys keep just pouring in, all you straight talkers out there who just love to listen to real and authentic conversations. And I go around this amazing planet finding the best humans I can find to come on here to grow, challenge, and transform your thinking. Today is no exception. I have an extraordinary guest, okay, who is lighting up the world with her vibrant energy and her profound wisdom. And her name is Ellyn Shamalov, and she is a quantum healer. Yeah, you heard that right, y'all. A quantum healer, an enlightenment mentor. She's the best-selling co-author. She's an international speaker. Now, Ellyn is dedicated to supporting millions on her journey to open up their hearts and awaken their inner wisdom. I freaking love that. I love her. Like, me and her had such a great conversation. She's really amazing at what she does. Now, her mission is to guide those who are ready to elevate and really grow and serve and live their highest purpose. So I am super excited you're here, Ellyn. Thank you so much for joining us with Straight Talk. I'm glad. How are you?
Oh, I'm so amazing. I feel so blessed to be here. Thank you so much for having me on here. It is really exciting to be able to share my work with people.
Oh, I love it. And I love what you're doing too, because you're really trying to have people live their highest selves. And, when you come at something that you do in life for the purpose of someone else, there's something special for that, right? It's not always me, but when you can pour into someone to elevate them, I mean, that's just awesome. And then we elevate ourselves naturally because we are elevating others. So I want to get my audience to get to know you a little bit better. So let's start there. So who are you, Ellyn? Who are you, woman? Who are you?
I'm the magical light. I basically am someone who realized there was more to life
Mm,
than the mundane lifestyle that I was taught by society and culture to live in. Get married, have kids, work 9 to 5, have a good job, and you basically survive, live to survive
yeah,
was
yeah.
the mantra, right? And I blindly went into all of that. I married a really handsome man, and I thought like, wow, look, I did good and whatever. And I was in this marriage, and I was like, okay, I got this career where I'm on my way to CEO. I had the man and like all these things. I did what society told me to do, but I still felt like this like yearning for something else. I felt
Mm,
like something
mm,
was missing, and I was just so unhappy. And the worst part is I was suffering in silence because I was so ashamed to tell people that I've got it all, but I'm not happy,
mhm, mhm,
So,
mhm.
and my goal wasn't about like making money and being a millionaire and all that stuff. It was about like I want to find something that lights me up. And so my journey has been emotional healing. And as I've gone through that, there was one place I remember going on a healing retreat with my husband that literally shifted how I felt. And I
Mm.
remember feeling so light. And we were sitting outside on the bench. I even remember clear as day. We were sitting outside of the bench, and I was telling him, like, wow, I want to help other people feel this way. Like, this feels fucking amazing. And I remember as soon as we got home, higher vibrations came to mind, and I thought, yeah, let's start this business. Higher vibrations get people into feeling better about
Mhm.
themselves, like,
Mhm.
light them up. And that's where my journey, took me to where I am now.
It's so interesting you said that too, because I think that a lot of us who are in the service industry where we want to help others have this catalyst or this moment in time where something changes. But it's never easy though, is it, Ellen? Because when that happens now, everything you thought is not. And everything you admired isn't anymore. And now things start, and I don't know if this is your story, so I want to hear it. Things crumble. They start to crumble and fall apart. And you're like, what the frig is going on? Right. But I think that has to happen for you to emerge. So talk to me about that. Like when you got home and that started happening to you, and that was your beginning or your genesis. What happened? Like what was the stuff that started to happen for you to be who you are today?
I had to come out of hiding. I was,
Mm,
even when I came home and I wanted to do this, I was scared because, I got the downloads of like what I was supposed to do, but I felt it was too woo woo. So I was too afraid to come out. So I try to fluff it up and make it all about like health and I went into IBS and healing IBS with my spiritual work, but I still felt like I was hiding because I didn't feel really, lit
right,
up and excited about it. And so my journey to getting to where I am now is just fully accepting who the fuck I am. Like,
right,
I
right.
came here with a mission to help people ascend into higher levels of being, to bettering themselves, into their higher selves, whatever people want to,
Mm,
call it. But that comes through the deep spiritual work that I was meant to bring in. And in order for me to really fulfill my mission, I have to really accept that. And so my
mhm,
journey was, number one, I teach about life lessons, 7 major life lessons, which was mind blowing to me when I first learned about it at that retreat, actually. And I remember coming home and doing so much information work on those life lessons that I even connected IBS symptoms to those life lessons and how it shows up in your life. And that's what helped
mm,
me to um, get rid of my IBS. And then even though I wasn't really excited about showing other people in that sense, it still was a work on me because I had to be the product of my own, whatever I'm doing out there. So I guess I lived my life working on how the life lessons was working through me for several
yeah.
years in order for me to fully understand it.
Yeah, yeah. And were things in your life that you had held to a higher standard? Did these things have to get stripped from you in order for you to learn who the fuck you are, since that's the way you worded it? Because I felt like in my lifetime, right? There was moments of catalyst in my life where I shifted and changed, and I realized that things had to be let go of certain thought processes, certain friends, certain ideals, things like that, right? So I'm wondering, did you go through that as well?
There was a lot of loss, with friends, places, people, but I've never grieved it in a way where it's like, oh my God, it's such a loss. Like I felt
Yeah.
like there was this deep knowing that this was
Hmm.
just part of the process and I was elevating into a different state. But there was a lot of deconditioning, right? Because
Yeah.
we are so conditioned to believe that our standards of life is about survival. And I feel like right
Right.
now we're in the space of understanding that we don't need to work on surviving anymore. We need to come back to our power within us to realize that we create our own reality. And because we have the power to create that own reality, then we're not surviving because we shift that. And so the
Hmm.
deconditioning came from understanding that things were coming from outside of me,
Mm-hmm.
and I had to take responsibility for myself. I had to not blame other people. That was another condition.
Yes.
And I
Mm-hmm.
had to really look within myself, and I practiced the laws of, the quantum physics to realize this is really within me. I can take
Mm-hmm.
everybody out of here. The relationships that I came in, um, with my parents, I had to decondition myself from understanding how they lived their life and had to see how I was going to live my life. So, learning
Mm-hmm.
who you are, I always say, number one rule is to understand that you're a spiritual being. You're here
Mm-hmm.
for a reason. And if there's that rule that you are living by, and you know that you are here for that reason, you can take out the human part and live up to the standard of, how is the spiritual being going to be? Like, what am I here to learn? There's obviously something I have to evolve with. So then you start to condition yourself into understanding those perspectives of what you're creating and how you're creating it, and what you need to do in order for you to live a different standard of life.
Mm-hmm. That's so good. That's so good. And I believe that also, right? I think that we are definitely spiritual beings in this human body, and we are to not only realize that we are spiritual beings, but also the fact that everything is an experience, and good or bad. Sometimes we get stuck a little in the bad, which
And the
is not
labels.
good. Yeah, and the labels, and then the bad thing, or who we should be, right? Like, but this is what I went to school for. I should be this, and then you realize that no, you should be who you are, and that's I think a struggle that many people confront at some point in their life, where they're trying to find out, who is that anyway, right? So talk
Yeah.
to me a little bit about quantum healing, right? Because you mentioned it, and I want people to understand what that is. Can you give us a little synopsis of what quantum healing is?
So quantum, in the quantum field, there's infinite possibilities. So if you think of, your soul is light, it's the quantum is light and energy. And
Mm-hmm.
so when you're doing work in the quantum field, you're basically healing aspects of you that may have fragmented into different parts, or different realities or dimensions or universes or whatever. And you're working on bringing yourself back to wholeness. And
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
what happens is, with quantum work, the way I've always explained it is that our vessel is the home of the spirit. And so we
Mm-hmm.
come in with like a certain percentage of it, and then once we are able to rid ourselves of the traumas and the things that are kind of like dirty in our homes, and we make space for more of our higher light to come in to reside in this physical vessel, so that we can continue to evolve and grow, that in itself is bringing in more light, more
Mm-hmm.
information, right?
Okay.
So
Okay.
in quantum healing, we heal everything in timelines. And so my belief is that we have an ever evolving spirit that comes back and reincarnates. And so we are holding on to experiences from past lives and from, ancestral lineage and whatever the situation is. Even if a person doesn't believe in reincarnation, we are still holding DNA from the ancestral bloodline, right? We're
Okay. Okay.
holding that. And so in the quantum field, the energy trickles down and it's held in our DNA from ancestral, from the bloodline. And so when we are holding that in our bodies, and we're meant to be here for, let's say, to shift something, to shift the way
Mm-hmm.
it used to be to something new, right? Getting out of survival mode,
Mm-hmm.
we're able to, all those things that come up in the sessions are able to be dissolved, so that we can embody more of our light and be
Okay.
that higher version of ourselves in this timeline.
Got it. Okay. All right. That makes a lot of sense once you broke it down. So I'm curious. Do you what's the end goal, right? Because it is. I mean, you're saying that we're fragmented, right? And that there are different parts of us that need to come and kind of enrich and enlighten our lives, our souls, our spirit, all of that. So, what is the end goal? Like, is there ever an end goal? Like, do we ever reach this place where we feel complete or whole? Or is it a lifelong journey? Is it always something that we're seeking for?
I believe that when we start the healing work, there's a lot to be done. Um,
Yeah.
It's just because it's like there's so much awareness around it. And then we start to pick up again the deconditioning. So we start to pick up all the things that we had once thought was what we wanted, but then we realize, no, that doesn't bring me happiness. It doesn't bring me joy. And that doesn't align with me. So then you start to go on this journey of dissolving those things, deconditioning and learning more about yourself, and then coming to an understanding of who you are and what you're meant to do, how you're meant to serve. So if, let's say, someone went through some traumatic experience and they've labeled things in a certain way, and now they've come to this understanding of this awareness that this didn't happen to me, this happened through me and
Mm,
for me. You can see how these experiences are not meant to keep you stagnant or scared. It's actually meant to show you what work needs to be done in order for
mm-hmm.
you to be able to move past it, dissolve it, and then learn from it so you can grow.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah,
that's
that's
the biggest
that's
challenge.
good. Yeah, yeah. It is work. You do have to be aware. There's a lot of self-awareness going on, right? So, it's basically what I call mind over matter, right? Having the mind and the matter being the brain part, but the mind, right? But it's really having that place where you pause and really seek, because a lot of us have been conditioned to just wake up and do the same thing the next day. And so that's the factory worker mentality, right? You get up and you repeat, get up, repeat, get up, repeat. And
Yeah.
it's unfortunate because sometimes it takes us many years. I'm 51. I didn't start this beautiful journey until I was like maybe in my late 20s, early 30s. But I wish I would have had this all my life, right? Because, there's so much to discover. There's so much beauty in the world, even in the mess, right? I always say your mess is your message. Stick with it. You got this. Because I think we don't want to look there, Ellen. Sometimes it's uncomfortable. It's painful. It's something if you feel like if you forget about it, you won't have to deal with it. But that's not true. It does
It'll show
still
up.
lead your life. Yeah, it still leads your life
It'll
in one
continue
way or
showing.
another.
The way
Yeah.
I talk about it is that our body holds the frequencies of everything. And so if your body is recording literally everything that's going on in your
Mm-hmm.
life, right? Even in ancestral stuff, all the things that they had to go through, the trauma that they had to go through in order to survive, that still comes into this life for us because we're holding that frequency in the body. And so because
Mm.
we're holding that, we're literally creating that through us so that we can see how we're in survival or how we're holding on to trauma that maybe they experienced, and it's being held in the DNA. It's so crazy how the energy works, but that's what the quantum field is all about, and that's how
Mm-hmm.
it trickles down into the DNA. And so regardless, if you are creating something in your life, it's not to blame yourself because you're unaware. It's because of what you are actually holding on to. So I'll give you an example.
Mm.
Um, when I started doing this work, I started questioning myself like, all right, so if I was abandoned emotionally as a child, right? So I said to myself, if I emotionally abandoned myself, take out who did it, I would look in the mirror and say, it was me. I abandoned myself emotionally, let's say, or just abandoned myself, whatever it is. Abandonment is abandonment. That's
Yeah.
the energy, and it'll come up in different ways as long as you see what the root is. And so I asked myself, how the hell could I have abandoned myself as a baby? So then I had to look past that and say, all right, this shows to me that there was abandonment in either a past life, ancestral, whatever. There's an energy there of abandonment. And you can see that in the history of our family, of how people have abandoned themselves because all they're doing is taking care of other people and not themselves. And they're in this
Mm.
lack mindset, survival, and like so disconnected from themselves because they know they have to survive and just be here. You don't understand what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so
That's interesting. Yeah.
that's what came to me, and I thought, wow, this is really powerful. So when I started working on that, I saw how it can manifest in my life. And then to answer the previous question that you had, is this a lifelong thing? Does it ever stop? The growth doesn't stop, right? Because we're always going to be tested.
Yeah.
If
Hmm.
you are at a point where you've already mastered your thought processes, and the way you do it is actually through your body. But if you've already mastered it to the point where if you've dissolved so much of what your body is holding, and
Hmm.
now the body is signaling something else to the mind, then the experiences that you start to have are different. And so the growth comes from being humble, or whatever other aspects of those lessons might come through. But it's a lifelong journey, and it's not always
Yeah.
about healing, right? Because in the beginning we're targeting all that stuff and we're healing so much, but then later it's like, how am I going to implement these new parts of me? How am I going
Right.
to live in this accelerated life, right? And then when you've created what you wanted, you've got new desires, and you
Hmm.
continue to
Hmm.
elevate yourself and move past another block and another block and another one. As long as you keep on going higher and higher and higher, you get to play around with the reality that you get to create, because you're
Mm.
the one who's setting those standards and those goals and creating how it's no, not how, but creating the opportunity for you to be able to experience different things.
Oh wow. Okay. Thank you for answering that. That was really good. No, I love that you did that because I think that is something that I think we all have to understand, especially all of us who are in personal development or trying to like expand our way of thinking or our mind, right, to grow, whatever. We tend to maybe get frustrated if we don't do something fast enough or if we don't have a result fast enough. And we live it out like I think we talked about this a little bit before, like we live in such a microwave world, right? So it's like, I put it in 3 minutes later, I'm supposed to be having all of these things in my hand, and that's not true. It is a journey. And I don't know why we even have that mentality, because all of our lives, it's all been a journey. It's not all been overnight. So I think it's
Because
just,
we're so
social media.
unhappy. We're
Yeah,
so unhappy
yeah,
that we're just looking for something to get us out of this
yeah,
misery. And
yeah.
like, that's why I say all the time, like, I was looking for the magic pill, and I was bypassing for such a long time. And when I say bypassing, I mean I wasn't really doing the deep work. And I think
Right,
that's
right.
one of the things that um is such it's so common out there right now that and I'm not to put anybody down, because everybody is going through their own journey, and everybody gets to experience what they need to experience on their journey. So I think what everybody is doing is beautiful, but what I was given um intuitively was that we are not meant to go through this healing journey with suffering. And a lot of the things
Mm,
right now out there with the past life regression and the need to go and dive deep and reframe and blah blah blah, it's beautiful for certain things, but there's so much that we have to do that it doesn't need to go that deep into every
yeah,
single part. And
yeah,
that's what
yeah.
I love about the work that I do, is that I was given this opportunity to be able to accelerate the ascension process, and the it catalyzes you so that you're able to dissolve all those things that are blocking you quickly without reliving it, and then be able to upload these new frequencies that will elevate you and bring you into a higher state of being, and expand your consciousness so you can live a better life.
Mm-hmm, hmm. That's good. And since you mentioned it, I do want to talk about that for a little bit. I want to talk about what it looks like when somebody does want to work with you, right? Or does call you to work with you. Because it's funny because you said in the beginning, I didn't want to be too woo woo, right? But I feel like, I don't know how that became a bad thing anyway. You know what I'm saying? Like how being woo woo or spiritual or whatever became a bad thing. I think it's because it went against the agenda of being a robot worker. you know,
Yes.
because if you start thinking for yourself and you start being acknowledging who you are, it goes against the grain.
I had
So
the
what?
limiting belief. I had the limiting
Mm-hmm,
belief that I was
yeah,
not going to be accepted, that I was going to be judged, that people would look at me like I was crazy because I was saying something that was different. And
right,
I didn't, what I realize now is that those people that will think that, they're not my people. They're not people that are
exactly,
meant to work
yeah,
with me, and they're not people
yeah,
that are meant to be in my space with me. And
right,
so you can't, like, with the billions of people in the world, I'm sure there's going to be people who will see it in my way. And I also had a husband who was testing that for me, because he
I'm
was
sure,
spiritual, but not as spiritual. It was so weird. It was like half in, half out. And it was like, there's no way that he questioned my intuition. And a lot of the times my intuition was so dead on, but he would question it. How did you know that? But I'm like, my intuition, but how does that prove it? Well, I don't know how to tell you that. And that put me in a space of like, how am I going to prove these things? Like, if a lot of these things are intuitive, how do I prove it? And I feel like that put
right,
me in a
right,
box and made me
yeah,
so afraid. But you know, the proof is in the pudding. I've seen how my life has transformed, even with my the situation with my husband when he passed away. I had to look at that and say, what life lessons is this experience teaching me? I need to
right,
understand that so that I can be able to move past it. So I used um, my own modality on myself to be able to see, what is this experience teaching me and how do I elevate from this? And I had people in my group thinking that I was never going to make it.
mm,
They all thought, because I
mm,
was down, I was so depressed, I was like confused. What was I going to do with my life? Because I felt like I had a mission, and how was I going to live this mission now if all I have to do is go back to survival to take care of
right,
my son and
right,
live in this world working a 9 to 5 job just to make it, you know?
right,
So all of that put me in a sense of like, I don't want to be here anymore. But,
yeah,
and you know, that's why other people around me thought that she wasn't going to make it. And
yeah,
when they were surprised to see how I came out of that so strong, and it's not that I'm a strong woman, it's the fact that, and when people say that, it's like, it's not that I'm strong, and maybe I am, and whatever, that's fine. But it's about really understanding the perspective. If you know that you're here to learn and grow, then every experience that you have, death, even if a heart attack, it doesn't matter. Any type of death, anything that comes to loss or an experience that gives you some type of emotion is there to teach you some type of lesson. You just need to know what
right.
that lesson is so that
Mhm.
you can incorporate it into your life and be able to grow from that.
I agree with that. I think that's so true, and I'm sorry for your loss too, because it is a hard time. That is a hard time.
Thank you.
Loss is hard. Loss is hard, and it's great that you've been able to transcend that. That emotion of being depressed and being there, because that is hard, right? So I want to know, before we wrap up, though, if somebody's listening and they're like, she's speaking my language, or this is something I may need in my life, because I think that one other thing, because I have a lot of coaches and entrepreneurs and leaders that listen to the show, and what I don't want them to start doing is put themselves in different compartments. Oh, I don't do that. You're a human being all the way around, at work, at home, in relationships. You're still the same human being. At work, you still get love, joy, frustration, all that the same way you do at home. So I think, nothing is woo woo. I think it is actually connected, and you have to learn what that is, right? Who you are in each aspect of your life. And so, Ellyn, if somebody's listening and wants to work with you, what is it that you offer? How do you do this? Like, how do people reach you? Give me all of that stuff.
I actually have a program that's coming out about coming back to themselves. And it's to do the work to really, because you need someone to show you,
Mhm.
to at least begin the process, to show you how to look at yourself and how to be able to see it within you first, right?
Mhm.
And I
Mhm.
call it a manifestation accelerator, because really you are going to be able to manifest things instantaneously once you can get back to yourself, embody that light that you are, and really
Mhm.
take ownership of your power so that you can start creating. And that program is so powerful. It's jam packed with so much. And I'm still in the works of creating it. but I believe it's going to be at 5 or 6 weeks. It's called the Queen of Your Heart. So you know that you are the person who's in charge of you.
That's so
Um,
good.
and so for now, I can say people can get in contact with me with my phone number. They can text me directly and say, yes, I'm ready to come back to myself. And then, from there, we can schedule a free Akashic Records call where we can dive deeper into like what is going on for them. If they have a question, I can help steer them in the right direction. And it doesn't necessarily mean they have to work with me. It's just an opportunity for them to ask me any questions about what they want to know. And the Akashic Records is basically like the Google search of your life. It's a Google search of your soul. So it's a perfect opportunity to get in contact with me that way.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. First of all, do you want to give me that number here live, or do you want me to just put in the show notes?
The number is 561-862-2932. And you can also put that in the show notes.
Okay, great. Yeah, good. Okay, so I love that, and I love that they can text you directly. Here's the other thing I love. I love that you're going to sit there and be able to help them see the Google of their life, right? And so they could really make an assessment like, okay, I'm stuck in a lot of these places. I'm stuck in a lot of these places, and it's important for us to realize that you can't do this journey alone. You cannot do this journey alone. Ellyn, we need everybody. We need each other. We need wisdom. We need strength. We need somebody to encourage us, right? And so if somebody's listening to this, I want them to be encouraged that they don't have to keep doing this alone. And there might be somewhere that you think is one thing, but it might be a blind spot. You might not actually see what it is you need to dig into, right?
Exactly. Exactly. And that's why having number one, two things are really important. Number one, my shifts really happened when I worked with a coach one-on-one. I put all my money shit on the side and I said, I need this. I know this is what I need and I'm going to do it. And so I worked with this coach one-on-one, really shifted my life. It shifted everything on how I see things. And before that, when I try to do it alone, it's hard because you don't know if something that's coming up, how to process it. And so when you work with a coach that can really guide you and
Mm-hmm.
help you see things that are your blind spots that you're not seeing, it's like that boom, aha moment. But I don't
Yeah.
say things to them. I walk them through it so that they can see it for themselves. Because once you
Right.
see it for yourself, you've got the aha and you're willing to make the shift. The awareness is important. The other
Yeah.
thing is being in a community with like-minded people. If you are elevating yourself to a higher level, right? Getting out of that conditioned matrix, and you're talking to family that is still stuck in that matrix, everything that you're doing, they're just going to bring it down because they don't understand it. So
Right.
being
Right.
in that community with like-minded people who are going to continue to motivate you, continue to see that higher state of you and help you to go down that avenue is going to continue to get you into that desired you that you're looking to be.
Yeah, I agree with that. I really do, and I say this all the time. I think every mentor needs a mentor, every coach needs a coach, every therapist needs a therapist. Like,
I
I
see.
think that, yeah, yeah, me too. I think it's very important because we are only human, and in that, we will only see certain aspects, right? Because of the lens that we are looking through. But there are always, people like you just said, in a community that maybe will see on your left that what you didn't see, right? And something that could bless you and completely show you a different shift that you didn't even know about yourself. So thank you so much for coming on and talking to us about quantum and all. I mean, you just like laid down so many things. I'm going to have to like pick out a whole bunch of stuff out of this episode, but I'm really, really grateful for you. And I'm grateful for what you're doing in the world and how you're showing up and how you're helping others show up. So thank you for hanging out with me today. I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me. It's such a
So
blessing. I
good.
appreciate you.
Thank you. Guys, I told you, right? Don't you love her? I know you do. I know you do. Okay, I'm going to link all of her information below and the phone number as well. I really encourage you to step outside of your maybe blocks that you are looking through, or like you have these lines that you won't cross. Sometimes you have to cross them in order to discover who you really are. And sometimes we have to dig in a little bit deeper than the surface, because when we keep going at the surface, maybe you're feeling anxious, maybe you're feeling depressed, maybe you're feeling stuck, maybe you're feeling all these things and you don't even know why. So hello, why not give it a shot and see if there's something there you are not looking at? I really appreciate you guys so much. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. And if you know someone who can really use this episode to start thinking differently and maybe discover something for themselves, I encourage you to share it. Thank you guys for being here. This is Neena Perez, Straight Talk, No Sugar Added. Until next time.